experience. I therefore rejected the job offer and opted to get the Tire agency and concentrate on developing my small company, a decision I was to regret in the short term, as it was fraught with endless problems. The problems ranged from lack of working capital, reluctance of customers to accept a new product, lack of access to capital, and lack of support from friends, amongst others. In an effort to resolve the major problem of working capital, I sold one of the 2 properties I owned and used the proceeds to enhance the company's working capital. I operated from the 3rd floor of Development House, where we were sharing an office with a friend. I leave it to your imagination how one runs a tire company from a 3rd floor using a saloon car. Over the years, both the company and I have grown in stature. I have become an astute investor. And I guess that's the reason I receive regular invitations, such as this one, not only in Malawi, but in different parts of the world. Our portfolio has grown, and we now have Mpatsa Trust, which is the custodian of all assets, Mpatsa Holdings Limited, which is the investment arm, and is the principal shareholder in Mpatsa Trading Limited, Mpatsa Farms Limited, Mpatsa Lodges Limited, Corporate Graphics Limited, and Armando Ramos Limited. In addition, it has substantial shareholding in other companies, such as Mwavico Limited and Malawi Pharmacies Limited. I now want to turn to the lessons that I have learned on this journey. What I have just outlined is history and my personal achievements. Let me now turn to the part which is most relevant to this gathering and may have a direct relevance to you, which is, what are the lessons I've learned from my experiences, and how does one become an effective entrepreneur? It is said there are some fundamental characteristics that one has to possess in order to be a successful entrepreneur, such as risk-taking, leadership, optimism, and honesty, amongst others. But allow me to rewrite the book and share with you my own view. The tools that have helped me in my success are many, but the following are what stand out. First, religious belief. It may not have been apparent at the outset, but in time, I realized that I could not have achieved anything without the intervention of my God. I noted that as success bred success, what helped me keep my feet on the ground was my strong religious beliefs. In addition, when the going was tough, I always leaned back and sought comfort from Him. Success without strong beliefs is useless. When you reach a position where you can afford anything your heart wishes, be it the latest Mercedes, the best house on your street, or a first-class air ticket to anywhere in the world, you are at a point where everything seems so useless. You then start agreeing with the philosopher in Ecclesiastes, who says, it is all vanity. At this point in your life, it is your beliefs that will help you maintain your sanity and forge ahead. I cannot count the number of times when I have said to myself, what was it all for? And felt like giving up, as I have found the success to be meaningless. At those times, I turn to my Bible and are comforted by the words that God placed us on this earth for a purpose, and that our success should be utilized in improving the well-being of others. I doubt if I could have achieved much without a good wife and a supportive family. If you want to venture into business, but have a wife who expects you to write an essay on where you have been and account for every moment of your day, then my dear brothers, don't even start. Stay with her, remain somebody's slave through employment, and be happy to remain an average success, but never reach your maximum potential. A real business is not conducted between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but after 6 p.m. A substantial portion of the 34 years of my marriage has been spent outside my home. And I think my wife could be in the crowd, she will vouch to this. But I've always slept in my bed when I'm in town. Another important factor in the family is trust. Your partner's trust is all important if you are to excel. Because not all your customers and potential customers will be of your gender. Unless you are a lady operating a hairdressing salon. It is extremely difficult to succeed in an industry that you have no knowledge of. I ventured into business through a sector that I had been employed in for over 10 years and therefore had very good knowledge of. To this day, I only invest in those industries that I'm familiar with. Now, where I use the word I, it is not a one-man show. It should be transposed with we, because it is not me alone, we are a team. Admittedly, there are times that we have ventured into unfamiliar territory, but at such times, we ensure that we gather as much information as possible on the sector so that we are not completely dependent on others for vital information. A good example is our venture into the hospitality industry through Mpatsa Lodges Limited. We were approached by an entrepreneur who had run out of funds to complete a hotel project in Salima, and the banks were foreclosing. He offered us the semi-completed hotel at a fraction of its value. We started the industry and learned of the huge potential for growth. And instead of being greedy and taking over the whole project, we offered the promoter a shareholding in the venture. In addition, and in recognition that it was him who had the vision, we offered him the opportunity to operate the business. In the end, a win-win situation was created, and the venture is one of the most successful investments we have ever made, in that its return on investment is one of the best. Our total investment is represented by only 1 month's turnover. What I mean is the amount of money that we invest in this business is what today we are realizing in sales in 1 month only. This notwithstanding, it is still best to stick to an industry that one is familiar with, most especially when you're just beginning. In the example I have given, one of the reasons we were able to take up the offer was that we could afford the risk of the investment that was required, as we had a reasonably huge reservoir. A budding entrepreneur is unlikely to be in the same position. A good example of how lack of knowledge can negatively affect a business is our experience in the agriculture sector. After a brief study of the sector, we decided to grow soya at one of our farms. Soya was at the time fetching an average of 120 kwacha per kilo. However, we did not conduct a full study of the product and did not keep abreast of developments in the sector. We were therefore not aware that there was a very limited market for the product in Malawi, or that the bulk of it was being exported. We were also not aware that government had at the time placed a restriction on the export of soya. The result of these developments was that the price of soya, which was at 120 kwacha per kilo at the time we were planting, fell to 40 kwacha per kilo by the time we were harvesting. In addition, the market for soya had become non-existent. The 100 tons of soya we harvested lay idle in our warehouse for over a year. In Mpatsa Farms Limited when they buy maize from there, and Mpatsa Trading Limited and Corporate Graphics still pay rent to Mpatsa Trust for the rental for the premises they are operating from. There is no such thing as it is ours and must be free. Another important factor is risk-taking. One cannot be an entrepreneur without being a risk-taker. The mere mention of entrepreneurship is synonymous with risk-taking. If you don't enjoy taking risks, then stay in employment, because the business world is fraught with risk and dangers that are often not foreseen. In my case, I took a big risk at the very outset by opting to venture into business than playing it safe and accepting a very attractive offer of employment.